Hello class, good day. This is a pre-recorded lesson discussion for the subject Oral Communication and Context. So the lesson that I'm going to discuss for this video is the topic Principles of Speech Writing and Principles of Speech Delivery. So here's the lesson objectives. At the end of the lesson, the students will be able to determine the entire speech writing process, identify social situations in which each style is appropriate to use, examine proper language use in applying each style, distinguish the techniques on speech delivery, and evaluate the effectiveness of a speech. So, steps in writing your speech. So these are some of the necessary procedure that you may consider when it comes to writing your speech. First is analyzing the audience. You can deliver an effective speech that suits your audience if you gather information about them. Hamilton 2012 suggests 3 dimensions through which you can analyze your audience. So, one of the most important things to consider when it comes to writing your speech is considering your audience. You need to make sure that you know who are the people who will listen to your speech. In analyzing the audience, it's very important to consider the situational information. It includes the size of your audience and what they know about the topic and the speaker. When it comes to situational information, you need to consider the background of your audience, what are the level of their education, what's their age, what's their socioeconomic status, and their knowledge about the topic that you're going to deliver in front of them. In situational information, first you need to consider the number of people in the audience. The size of the audience will help you determine the technical aspects of your speech, such as the visual aid to use and the sound system. When it comes to considering the number of people in the audience, it's very important since it will give you the idea what kind of equipment that you will be needing when it comes to delivering your speech. If it's necessary to prepare a visual aid or not anymore, if you need to have a large sound system so that the audience can properly hear your voice during your speech delivery. Then we have audience knowledge of the topic. It's very important that you need to consider the background of your audience since it's very important that your audience can properly get the idea or the message that you want to convey to them. And there are certain things that can affect the understanding of your audience. So you as a speaker, you need to consider the kind of language, words that you're going to use when it comes to delivering a speech. It's very important that you need to keep in mind that the words that you're going to use should be understandable by your audience. Audience knowledge and opinion about the speaker. So if the audience is familiar with you, the speaker, they may already have an opinion about you which could influence their reception of your speech. Like, it's very important that you as a speaker should establish an impression to your audience that you have the expertise to deliver such a topic. That's why most of speech delivery, there's a person that will introduce the speaker and will set the background of the speaker so that the audience will know the profession, the educational background, the expertise of the speaker, so that the audience will really know that you as a speaker have the expertise of the topic that you're going to deliver. The next is the demographic information. This refers to general characteristics of the audience including age, gender, education, occupation, and economic status. First is the age. People of varied ages have varied interests, so you must consider the age range of your audience when deciding on your topic, your language, and your visuals. So there are certain topics that are not appropriate for a specific age bracket. Thus, you need to make sure that the topic that you're going to deliver is something that is very familiar to the audience, or your audience can easily relate to, so that you can convey the knowledge that you want to give to them. Like for example, if your audience are mostly teenagers, it's inappropriate to deliver a speech about parenting because your audience are mostly teenagers, not yet parents. If we're going to deliver a speech about parenting, thus you need to make sure that the audience are already parents. Next, the gender. Gender plays a role in shaping the interests and experiences of people. Make sure to know the gender of the members of the audience to target their interests and relate your speech to their experiences. Be gender sensitive in your choice of words and avoid stereotyping and sexism. So, it's very important that you need to be gender appropriate when it comes to the language words that you're going to use, because if you're going to be insensitive with the words that you're going to use, some might get offended and they cannot grasp the message that you want to convey to them. So it means that you need to be sensitive to the gender of your general audience. You use appropriate language for a specific gender type of audience. Then next is the education, occupation, and economic status. These are factors that influence the response and understanding of your audience. So it's very important if your audience are in lower strata or common folks, are just common folks. It's very important that you need to use a language that can be easily understood by this specific group of people. It's very important that you need to use layman's term. It's not that you are degrading them. It's just you want to be appropriate with the kind of delivery that you want to use when it comes to speaking in this specific group of people. Because sometimes, if you're going to be highly technical, you're going to use highfalutin words, high-sounding words, words that are unfamiliar to them, then it's hard for you to cross the message that you want to speak to this group of specific people. That's why you need to consider the educational level, their profession, and socioeconomic status. Next is psychological information. Psychological information includes the values, beliefs, and attitudes of your audience. Remember our lesson in social linguistic competence about the understanding of the speaker, about the sociocultural background of the receiver of the message. It includes the psychological information. You need to know what are the values, beliefs that are being upheld by your audience. You also need to understand their attitude or their behavior. So it's very important that you need to know this basic knowledge, because if you can utter words that are considered as taboo in their culture, then it's hard for you to penetrate them. It's because you offended them. Okay, in psychological information, first we have the values. Values refer to the principles learned from influential and rooted institutions such as the family, church, and school. Knowing your audience's values will help you properly apply an emotional appeal, especially if you are giving a persuasive speech. So it's very important that you need to know the principles being upheld by your audience. You also need to understand their beliefs, their their belief system, their status of their cognitive aspect or their mindset. It's very important to understand that because you might provide a message to them that are opposite to what they believe in. Then we have attitudes. Attitudes refers to how people look at and deal with the things around them, meaning this is the behavior of your audience. So it's very important that you need to know how they respond, how they react when it comes to being conveyed by a message that is unfamiliar to them. So it's very important that you need to know what kind of behavior does your audience possess. The next, choosing your topic. Select a topic based on the information you gathered about your audience and ask yourself what you want to achieve with your speech. This means you have to set your objectives and think of the end result which you want to achieve after your delivery. So it's crucial when it comes to choosing a topic since you need to be relevant, you need to be significant when it comes to delivering a message. Your audience will get dull or your audience will find it boring if they cannot relate to the message that you're going to deliver. Thus, based on the steps that I discussed earlier, you need to consider those factors first when it comes to choosing your topic. First one, you need to consider the objectives. The following are several possible objectives for a speech, such as to inform, to prompt an action, to provoke an emotion, to entertain, and to promote a discussion. So it's very important that you need to identify what are your goals at the end of your speech delivery. What are the things that you want to obtain? You need to identify that. It could be you want to inform, you want you want them to make an action for a certain cause, for certain causes or advocacies. If you want to target their emotion, if you want to entertain them, or if you want to stir an argument, a healthy argument or healthy debate, it's up to you. Choose objectives that you want to achieve using your speech and then choose a topic that can be explored well using your objective, which means that your objectives and your topic should be aligned, should be synchronized. Okay, just like this video discussion, the one that I'm doing, there's a particular topic that I want to deliver and there are objectives that we want to obtain at the end of the discussion. It is equally important that you choose a topic that you can present completely the allotted time, which means that you need to present a topic that you think you can deliver well. Or let's say that the topic which you considered as your niche or expertise, meaning you really have an in-depth knowledge about the topic, and you need to make sure that you can deliver your topic at the allotted time, meaning the time that is given to you, and not just the delivery of the topic, but you also need to hit the objectives at a given time. Also keep in mind to choose a topic that you are good at or are interested in. This way, you will be more comfortable and credible to talk about it. Just like what I've mentioned earlier, you need to make sure that the topic that you're going to deliver is something that you are expert at or you have an in-depth knowledge. Next, the end result. Choose an end result that fits your objective and topic. If you have a clear end result in mind, you'll have better chances of achieving your objectives. So you need to make sure what kind of results that you want to obtain, what kind of outcomes that you want to see after the delivery of your speech. So all of this should be synchronized. Your topic, your objectives, and the possible outcomes or results, or the results that you want to see after the delivery of your speech. Next is getting information about the topic. When looking for information, consider the reliability, validity, and currency of your source. So it's very important that you need to back up your arguments or the information that you're going to present in your speech with factual evidence in order to solidify or support your points. When we say reliability, it refers to the consistency and credibility of the information. Information is reliable when it matches what other experts have concluded and the source is an authority on the topic. When we say reliable, which means that it is factual, meaning it is consistent to the claims of other experts of the topic that you are delivering, meaning that the persons that you're going to use in your speech should be considered as authorities on that field, so that you can really say that your backup information can be useful in order to prove your point. Next, validity. It refers to the soundness of the logic underlying the information. To test the validity of your information, examine the author's logic, evidence, and conclusions. When it comes to validity, you need to make sure that you're going to provide sound or logical judgments. That's what makes validity and reliability connected, because you can validate your claims through reliable sources. And from reliable sources, reliable information, you can come up with a good conclusion or logical conclusion for your claims. Currency refers to the recentness of the information used that is up to date as possible. So currency, it's very important that the knowledge that you're going to provide in your speech is that recent, it's updated, because there's a possibility that things have changed over the course of time. For example, in writing a research paper, the valid review, the valid related literature and studies that can be used for a study should be 10 years. 11 years above are not already considered unless there are no other related literature that can be used for a specific topic. But it's when it comes to related studies, it should be 10 years. That's the validity of the year when it comes to using information that can be used to support your claim, because there's a possibility, as what I have said, that things might change. Then, when it comes to getting information, you may utilize the library and the internet. Say, the library, you can find so many books. You can find so many information to support your topic, as well as the internet. You can search just one click away, but you need to be careful. It's because there are a lot of resources or references in the internet that are not reliable. That's why you need to scrutinize the information that you can get in the internet. The next, outlining and organizing the speech outline. It is important to structure thoughts and your information logically. A well-organized speech will not only help you deliver your message effectively, it will also help the audience understand your message clearly. So, When you write your speech, it's very important that there's a proper organization or structure of the thoughts and ideas, notions, arguments, or claims that you're going to present in your speech. You need to make sure that they're organized so that the audience can easily follow the message that you want to convey to them. So in outlining, organizing your speech outline, you need to right. So after you outline your speech, you can now proceed on preparing to write. In preparing to write, you need to consider the duration or the time that is being allotted for you to deliver your speech. Know how much time is provided for your delivery. Draft your speech according to the duration that is allotted to you. As a speaker, it is your responsibility to make sure that you finish within the allotted time. So, as what I've mentioned earlier, all the things should be aligned in your speech delivery, from your objectives, from the topic, to the end result of your speech. And you need to hit these three in the given time. Next is word choice. The words you will use depend on the characteristics of your audience. To help you deliver an audience-appropriate speech, check if your choice of words can be easily understood by your target listener. So it's very important that you need to consider the level of understanding of your audience. If they can understand highly technical words, it's fine if you're going to use these types of words. But if your audience are just common folks, which means that you need to use layman's terms, words that can be easily understood by ordinary people. So in word choice, use simple words so that your audience can easily understood your message. Be concise, which means that be short as much as possible. You need to make sure that you need to be precise when it comes to presenting your sentences, your paragraph. Avoid bias and offensive languages. So it could be you should be gender sensitive. You should avoid using taboo words, words that are considered as offensive to a specific culture. And grammatical corrections. Observe correct grammar to clearly and accurately express your message and to add to your credibility. To ensure that your grammar is correct, edit and proofread your prepared speech after drafting it. You may also ask for the help of an editor. So, in grammatical corrections, it's understandable that we cannot perfect our grammar. But since we have the time to prepare our speech, we have the luxury of time to edit, to proofread our work so that we cannot cause confusions, because sometimes grammatical errors or grammatical mistakes can cause confusion to your audience. In writing the speech, you need to provide an introduction. The introduction sets the scene for the whole speech presentation. During this part, you have the full attention of the audience. Below are some suggestions on how to begin your speech. Right, in introduction, you need to set the mood of the whole setting. Meaning you need to set the atmosphere. What kind of atmosphere that you want to have during the speech delivery. In introduction, promise something that will entice the audience. So you need to make sure that you can get the attention of your audience. Something that can catch them in order to listen to your speech delivery. Next is share an anecdote. Share a short story that is related to your topic or something that can be used in order to contextualize your message. Make them laugh. It's very important that you need to throw some humors in your speech so that you can loosen up the atmosphere, meaning it's not highly serious because other people, your audience, some of the audience might find it boring if the atmosphere is very serious. So sometimes you need to loosen up. Then you ask questions. So in order for you to know if your listeners were able to follow or understand the message that you're conveying, you ask questions or clarifications from them. Then the body. The body of your speech is where you expound on your thesis statement by presenting your details and arguments. Make sure that the content of the body revolves around the thesis statement and provides details and arguments about it. So you're going to expound. You need to explain more in this part about your thesis statement or what's the whole point of your speech. Then introduce your points using signposts. Signposts, which include ordering transitions such first, next, and finally. Let the audience know where you are in your speech, where you are going, and how your points relate to one another. So you're going to use linguistic cues that may determine or pointing words that may connect the messages that you're implying in your message. Then transition between main points. You need to use transitions to ensure that your speech is coherent and cohesive. So there should be coherence, cohesion, and unity in your main points so that your audience can follow through your speech. Then the last part is conclusion. The conclusion is even more important than the beginning. If you give a very effective beginning and an interesting body, but fail to end with a positive impact, it will undo all your effort and preparation. So in conclusion, although all the parts in writing a speech are important, but in conclusion, it's crucial since that's the last part that your audience can easily remember. Thus, your conclusion should something can leave a lasting impression, a positive lasting impression to your audience, something that they can remember even after your speech. In conclusion, you need to make sure you reinforce the main ideas, motivate listeners to remember, and provide a sense of closure. And let's proceed to the principles of speech delivery. No matter how substantial your speech is, your audience will not be able to appreciate it if your delivery is ineffective. To successfully deliver your speech, practice your presentation while focusing on various elements such as appropriate facial expression, gesture and movement, voice, posture, attire, and rapport with your audience. So, after you write your speech, you need to make sure what are the things that you consider when it comes to delivering the speech itself. First is the facial expression. When delivering your speech, remember that your facial expression is vital because it also adds to the message that you are communicating. So, which means that you need to have a facial expressions that are suitable to your topic or the message that you're going to deliver. You need to consider also your posture. You need to stand straight to demonstrate your self-assurance and confidence. Your movements, your body movements, can give ideas to your audience about your psychological state during your speech delivery. So they will identify if you're nervous or if you have low self-confidence when it comes to delivering your speech. They can see these things in you based on your body movements. It's very important that you need to present yourself with self-confidence. You need to make sure that you have a good body posture during your speech delivery. And gesture and movement. Make sure to use gestures and movements only when appropriate. Because sometimes if gestures are overly used, it can give an awkward impression or uncomfortable impressions to your audience. So you only use gestures and movements if they are necessary or important, if you want to emphasize a point in your speech. Use gestures and movements appropriately. Some parts of your speech may not require you to make gestures or movements at all. So sometimes subtlety can drive home the point. In this case, your facial expression is enough. So you should make sure that when you make or when you use gestures or movements, see to it that they're appropriate to your message. Avoid overusing the same gestures. What I have said, overusing the same gestures can give uncomfortable or awkward impressions to your audience. Avoid unnecessary movements because it might give them the idea that you are nervous. Next is the voice. Your voice is the primary tool for catching the interest of your audience, emphasizing your main points, stimulating reactions, and conveying your message. Articulation and modulation, two elements controlled by your voice, are essential for effective public speaking. Your voice is very crucial when it comes to delivering a speech because that's your main tool in speech delivery. You need to modulate your voice. You need to raise your voice if you want to emphasize a point. You need to make sure that the kind of message that you're going to convey is appropriate to the volume of your voice. And it's very important that you're very articulate, which means that you know how to unleash the words that you want to use in order to convey a message or idea. First, in articulation. Articulation refers to the act of producing a speech sound. As a speaker, you are the focus of attention, so it is important to articulate and pronounce clearly. So in articulation, you need to make sure that you can utter the words that you want to say to your audience. The words that best represents to your ideas in mind, and you should have a good pronunciation of those words. It's because it can entice or catch the attention of your audience if you have good speaking voice. Modulation. It refers to the manipulation of the rate, pitch, and volume of the voice to denote mood and meaning. So in modulation, you need to make sure that you know how to manipulate, you know how to control your voice, the pitch, the intonation, the volume, because these factors can denote the mood and meaning of your speech. Then we have the attire. Dressing well demonstrates that you care enough about the audience in your speech by looking your best. What you wear should enhance your speech and improve your confidence and credibility. So in attire, as long as you're comfortable, it's fine. But you need to make sure that your clothes are appropriate for a specific speech context, for the appropriate for the setting. So you need to make sure that you need to look good, that something that can give you the confidence to speak in front of people. Then rapport with the audience. Establish rapport with your audience even if your formal talk has not yet begun. So you need to make sure that you are friendly to your audience so that They have good impression to you before even your speech delivery begins. And during the speech delivery, you need to make a connection with your audience so that uh, you have a mutual understanding. It's like you're involving them in your speech delivery. It's not just you are the one, although you are the one who speak, but seems like they are giving a response to your speech, even through their facial expressions, something that can catch their attention. That's why it's very important that you need to build rapport or relationship with your audience during the speech delivery. And that's the end of our discussion. So thank you very much for listening.